Good morning and good morning to all my students of class 7, and I'm happy to welcome you all again in this biology class, and today's class is going to be about permanent tissues. So we have started chapter 1 in your previous class. What was that about? It was about tissues, right? So we have learned there are two types of tissues called meristematic tissues and permanent tissues, and in our previous class we have studied the properties of meristematic tissues, right? So in today's class we are going to learn about permanent tissues. So let's learn some of the properties of permanent tissues before we go in detail about the types of permanent tissues. So what is permanent tissues? In my last class I have told you meristematic tissues are those which can divide actively, which means the cells divide again and again, whereas permanent tissues do not divide at all. So those cells, those group of cells which cannot divide are called permanent tissues, and those cells which divide actively, which divides again and again, they are called as meristematic tissues, right? So in this case I told you it cannot divide at all. So if something cannot divide, from where it is formed? How it is formed then? It is formed from the meristematic tissues. I told you already, meristematic tissues have the ability to divide actively, right? So these meristematic tissues will divide again and again, and at some stage it will not divide, so that stage is called as permanent tissues. That's why permanent tissues have lost the ability to divide. Okay, so from meristematic tissues they divide and differentiate. Differentiation is repeated cell division. When the meristematic tissues divide again and again, at some stage it will lead to the formation of permanent tissues. After that the tissue will not divide. So what did I tell you? There are two types of tissues called meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues divides again and again, whereas permanent tissues do not divide at all. No. So at some stage these meristematic tissues will stop dividing and it will form a group of tissues or a group of cells called as permanent tissues. Okay, there are four properties, general properties of permanent tissues. See, permanent tissues is only the name given to a group. There are many types of permanent tissues, and each type of permanent tissue will have separate properties. Okay, so now we are going to learn about the general properties of permanent tissues. What are they? You know already. Permanent tissues itself means it is a group of cells. What is tissues? A group of cells with similar function, and if it is located in the same place it is called as tissues. Tissues are group of cells which are all present in the same place and which have the same function. You can call it as one tissue. So this permanent tissue, I told already that it has lost the power to divide again. It has lost the ability. They cannot divide anymore. So the group of cells are tissues, and those tissues have lost the ability to divide, and they are called permanent tissues. Is the first characteristic. What is the second characteristic? What about the status, whether they are live or dead? See, if something cannot divide anymore, what you will think? You will think that it is a dead cell, no? But it is not true. Some of the permanent tissues are dead, whereas some of the permanent tissues can still be alive. The only thing is they will not divide. Okay, so they can be, some are alive and or living cells you can call, and some are dead cells. And what about the cell wall? The cell wall in some permanent tissues are very thick in nature, whereas the cell wall in some permanent tissues are thin in nature. I told you, there are many types. These are all a general characterization of permanent tissues. So they include both thick cells as well as thin cell wall, and also living cells or dead cells. Then the nuclei. What is nucleus? You know, all the cells, most of the cells will have nucleus in them. No, nuclei is plural form of nucleus. Okay, if you have one nucleus you call it as nucleus. If you have many nucleus you call it as nuclei. Nuclei is in the periphery. What is this periphery? Generally, if you have a cell, if a cell is like this, where will you find the nucleus? Have you seen many cells, the picture of many cells you must have seen, no? Where will you find the nucleus generally? It will be in the center of the cell as a darkly shaded region, right? Like this you will find the nucleus generally. But in the case of peripheral nucleus, if it is periphery, it means that instead of center, it is going to be somewhere else, where in the outer circumference, that is towards the outer region of the cell you will have. Generally you will have in the center, but if it is peripheral nucleus, it will be in the outer region. That's why it is called nuclei is periphery. In which type of cells nuclei is in the periphery? In the case of permanent tissues. Usually in all other types of cells you will have nucleus in the center. So only in the permanent tissues you will have nuclei in the peripheral region. So these are some of the characteristics of the permanent tissues. Next we learn about the types of permanent tissues. What are the two types of permanent tissues? We will learn. So what are the types of permanent tissues? There are two types of permanent tissues. I already told you in the previous class. One is called as simple tissues and the next type is called as complex tissues. Simple and complex. What does this mean? Simple tissues means all those tissues which are all made up of one type of cell. That is, the entire tissues will be made up of only one type of cells. Then it is called as simple tissues. In complex tissues, you will have more than one type of cells. That is, many types of cells you will have in. It is not the many number, it is many types of cells. Say for example epidermal cells, parenchymal cells, like that you will have different types of cells in complex tissues, whereas in simple tissues all will be of one single type, so it is called as simple tissues. Then again these simple tissues are divided into two types called as ground tissues and dermal tissues. So two types of simple tissues are dermal tissues and ground tissues. So what did we learn? Permanent tissues are of two types, simple and complex. Again simple tissues are of two types called as dermal tissues and ground tissues. Okay, so in this lesson we will be learning in detail about the properties of each type of cell. So what are all the properties in dermal tissues? What are all the properties in ground tissues? These are all you are going to learn about in this class. Okay, so again these ground tissues are divided into three types called parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, so these terms are all new to you, but memorize it. I will also tell you a trick how to memorize. Okay, so what did I tell? Simple and complex first. From simple tissues you have two more types called as dermal tissues and ground tissues, and these ground tissues are again of three types called as parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, this is a bit complicated, right? So many names. I will tell you a easy way to remember. Just remember this term. Sam was digging the ground and found a pot of coins and stamps. Sam was digging the ground and he found a pot of coins and stamps. So Sam, yes for Sam. Okay, simple tissues. Then dermal, D for digging. Okay, then ground tissues, again ground, he was digging the ground. And then parenchyma, what he found? He found a pot, P for parenchyma. Then for collenchyma he found coins. Then for sclerenchyma, S for stamps. Is it easy now? So what did I tell you? S for Sam. Simple is divided into dermal and ground. No, for D and G you have digging the ground, and then parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, pots, coins and stamps. So you can just remember this in a easier way. Okay, this is just a simple trick. Again, complex tissues are only of two types. This you can recall easily. One is called xylem and this one is called phloem. This is phloem. It is not visible. So this is called phloem. So complex tissues are divided into xylem and phloem. So easy, right? So just remember this sentence, you can recall it easily. So now we are going to learn about the properties of each type of tissues. Okay, you are going to learn about the properties of all the types of these tissues. You will learn now. So first we will study about the dermal tissues. What is this? Dermal tissues. Usually dermis or dermal means it is skin. What is dermis? It is skin. That's why a skin doctor is called as dermatologist. Okay, and the study about the skin is called dermatology. Logy means to study, right? So dermatology means study about skin, and dermatologist is a doctor who treats the skin related problems. Okay, so but this is botany, right? We are studying botany about the plants, and what dermis has to do with the botany, which means the outer layer of the plant tissue. The outermost layer of the plant tissue is also called as dermal tissue. It is common for both man and the plants, that is for animals and the plants, that dermal means the outermost layer. That's why the skin is the outermost layer for human, right? That's why it is called dermal layer. Similarly for plants, dermal tissues means the outermost tissues. Okay, and one more thing. Whenever you remember a word, say for example I tell dermal tissue, no, immediately what should spark into your mind? This picture should be displayed in your mind. Okay, so if I tell you, okay, explain about a human being, what are the characteristics or what do they have, what does a human being have, what will you do? You will tell, you will just imagine the picture of or the image of a man, and you will tell a man has 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, all you will tell. How you will tell? Just that picture of the man will flash into your mind, right? Similarly, when you hear this word or when you think about this word dermal tissue, which picture should come into your mind? This one should come into your mind. Okay, so imagining that picture only, you should describe about something. You should not just memorize the sentences given in your book. Okay, so just keep in mind this picture. What is this picture? This picture is actually the section of leaf. What is section? When you cut the leaf and when you put under the microscope, you can see this structure. So the typical example for dermal tissues is the structure of the leaf. Okay, so leaf structure is this one. So dermal tissues has 3 important parts. So the structure of dermal tissues have 3 parts. Number 1 is called as epidermis, number 2 is stomata, and 3 is cuticle. So when you remember the structure of dermal tissues, you should recall these 3 terms. What are they? Epidermis, stomata, cuticle. Epidermis, stomata, cuticle. Where is the epidermis? I will label and show you. Okay, so actually there are 2 epidermal layers, one at the top and one at the bottom. So this is the epidermal layer. Can you see this layer of cells? So this is upper epidermis and this is called as lower epidermis. Okay, so these 2 are called as epidermal layers. Okay, so what are the properties of epidermal layers? When you see this, what do you understand? They are closely packed cells, right? Do they have space in between them? There is no space in between them. So you can define their property as they are closely packed cells. They are a single layer, only one layer of cells. No, this is called another cell. This is one more type of cell. Only this is the epidermal cell. So you can call it as single layer of cell, and then it is closely packed because there is no space between them. Okay, if there is space, it is called as intercellular space. So I can tell the epidermal layer cells do not have intercellular space, I can tell. Okay, what it does, what is the function of them or where it is present? It gives protection in all roots, stem and leaves. So the presence of this layer of cells prevents injury or damage of the outermost, since it is present in the outermost layer and the bottommost layer, it gives protection to roots, stem and leaves. So where are they present in? Roots, stem and leaves. And what is the function? They give protection. Since they are present in all these three structures are protected by this epidermal layer. Okay, and then in the case of roots, okay, in the case of roots, you have a special property for this. What did I tell? It is present in root, stem and leaves. No, in stem and leaves you have this structure, but in the roots alone you have such a structure, elongation of the epidermal cell. If there is epidermal layers, it will be extended or protruded or elongated in the case of root cells. That elongation or protrusion is called as root hairs. What is it called? It is called as root hairs. Okay, what did I tell you? Epidermal layer or epidermis is found in roots, stem and leaves. In stem and leaves you have such a structure, but in roots alone you have an extension of the epidermal layer or the protrusion of the epidermal layer, and that extension is called as root hairs. Okay, so root hairs, you know what is the function of root hairs? Root hairs absorb water from the soil, and also along with the water, if minerals are present in the soil, they also absorb minerals. Okay, so what we have studied in the epidermal structure or epidermis layer, epidermal cells are closely packed, they don't have spaces between them, they exist as single layer, only one row of cell, and then they give protection to roots, stem and leaves. If it is present in the root, it is present as an extension, and that extension is called as root hairs, and the function of root hairs is to absorb water. So this is about the epidermis, and next we will study about the stomata. Okay, so what is the property of stomata? We will see. So you can see stomata here. So my stomata is these two cells. Okay, I have labeled in blue. No, this is stomata. What can you see? Not this one. In between these two you have a open space. No, this one. This is the stomata, the open space between the two cells. This is called as, this open space is called as pore. What is pore? Pore means nothing but a hole. Pore means a hole. Okay, so this hole or the empty space or the opening is called as stomata. Why there should be a opening in a plant? Because it is for gas exchange. What gas is exchanged in a plant? You know, during photosynthesis, plant takes in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, right? What about human beings? What we do? We take in oxygen, and the waste gas from us or the gas we release out is carbon dioxide, right? It is straightly opposite in the case of plants. Plants will take in carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is good for the plants, and oxygen is released out as an end product. So that gas exchange between the, from where they take from the atmosphere, no? So this part is exposed to the atmosphere or the air. So that gas exchange between carbon dioxide and oxygen between the plant and the atmosphere is through the stomata. So what did I tell you? Stomata means it is a pore or an opening in the plant. So you have an opening here which I have labeled in the blue structure. In between these two cells you have this opening, and this is the place where gas exchange between the atmosphere and the plants take place. And the third one is the cuticle. So the third one is the cuticle. I'll label with a different color. Okay. So where is the cuticle in a plant? Can you see one uppermost layer here? Can you see one layer above the epidermis? Can you see? And here also you have. This is the cuticle. Okay. So immediately after the epidermis, you have one layer, a thick layer, a waxy layer, and that waxy layer is called cuticle. So if you touch the surface of the leaf, you can feel some many leaves have a thick wax-like substance. Have you seen? It is somewhat shiny, like that of the apples we buy these days. No, some of them are coated with wax. So similar kind of texture you can see in the surface of the leaves, right? So that is because of the presence of cuticle. So cuticle's property is it is waxy in nature. The property of cuticle is it is waxy. It is a waxy coat, and where is that coat? It is immediately above the epidermis. This red one is the cuticle or the waxy coat. Okay, so from where it is produced? Actually, this epidermis, no, this green color layer of cells, this epidermis only secretes the wax. So wax is secreted by the epidermis. And what is the function? Why you need a wax coating above the leaf? It retains water. So that in plants there is a process called as transpiration, that is loss of water from the plant through the surface of the leaf. If you pour 100% of water, 99% of water will be lost from the plant through the surface of the leaves. So if you have a wax coating on the surface of the leaf, this loss of water is prevented. So that is the function of cuticle. Okay. So next we learn about the next types of tissues. So next we learn about the structure of ground tissues. Okay. So these ground tissues are of three types. We have studied already in the classification chart. What are they? Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Do you remember Sam was digging the ground and he found a pot of coins and stamps, right? So C, S for coins and stamps and P for pods. So the three types of ground tissues are parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So now let's learn about the property of parenchyma. So when this word parenchyma comes to your mind, you should immediately interpret with this structure, okay? Because this is the structure of parenchyma cells. What do you understand from this structure? When you see this structure, what all can you understand? Yes, what you see in the structure, there are, see, this is one cell and this is one cell, right? In between two cells, you have spaces between them, right? The space between them are called intercellular spaces. The space between two cells is called this intercellular spaces. Why? Inter means in between and two cells. So there is space in between. In this type of parenchyma cells, you have space between two cells. See, here also you can see, here all you can see spaces, right? So these spaces are called as intercellular spaces. It is present in parenchyma cells. So apart from these intercellular spaces, what can you see? You can see a large vacuole, right? Where is the vacuole? Vacuole is here. So this is the large vacuole. Okay. So these are large vacuoles. Then what you can see? You can see a nucleus, right? These circular structure are called as nucleus. So let's label the nucleus then. So where is the nucleus here? Nucleus is in the center, right? Nucleus is in the center. So this is the nucleus. So what all you have learnt, a parenchyma cells will have intercellular spaces, a large vacuole, the blue color region, and the nucleus which is shaded in green. Okay, where it is present, where you can find parenchyma cells? You can find parenchyma cells in root, stem and leaves. So just remember this structure so that you can write the properties of parenchyma cells. Then we learn about collenchyma cells. So the structure of collenchyma is like this. So this is the structure of collenchyma cells. Can you see some differences between this and this? It is different, right? So what are all different in this? The first difference is you can see some thickened endings or thickened corners. Can you see? Like this. So these are called thickened corners. And why it is thickened? What is there in this thickened ends? There is a substance called as pectin. Okay, this pectin is present in these thickenings. Clear? This is the speciality of collenchyma cells. Apart from this, you can see the cells are oval in shape. What is oval shape? Like this, right? So mostly they are oval in shape. They have thickened ends made up of pectin, but generally the cell wall, plant cells have cell wall, no? Cell wall is made up of cellulose. Most of the plant cell wall is made up of a substance called as cellulose. But in addition to the cellulose, you have a thickened region or thickened ends which is made up of pectin. Okay, so it is called as thickened corners. The ends are thick, so they are called thickened corners. What is it made up of? The thickened portion, it is made up of a substance called as pectin. Okay, where you can find this type of collenchyma cells? You can find only in the stem. What you have studied here, you can find parenchyma in root, stem and leaves, right? But in the case of collenchyma, just compare and study so that you can differentiate the properties between the two. Okay, whereas in collenchyma you can find only in the stem, in dicot stem alone, especially below the epidermis. About epidermis structure we studied in the previous slide, right? So below the epidermis of stem alone you can find these type of collenchyma permanent tissue. Okay, then again you need to know the functions of both of them, right? You need to know why it is present. If it is present, there should be a use, no? What is the use if parenchyma is present? Wherever parenchyma is present, it can synthesize food and it can store food. Okay, wherever there is parenchymal tissues, it can synthesis and storage of food is present in this tissues. Which tissues? Parenchymal tissues. Whereas if collenchyma is present, it gives mechanical strength to the plant. It makes the plant, that part of the plant, to be strong. That's why it is called as mechanical strength. And also it is elastic in nature. What is elasticity? Elasticity means in dresses all you have, no? When you pull it out and you release back, it will retain its original shape. That is elasticity. So this can be stretched. This type of collenchyma tissue can be stretched, as well as it will get back to its original shape. Okay, so what we have studied in these two types, parenchyma and collenchyma. In parenchyma, you know, it is present in root, stem and leaves, whereas collenchyma is present only in the dicot stem below the epidermis. What is the function? This parenchyma will synthesize and store food, whereas collenchyma, it gives mechanical support to the plant, as well as it is elastic in nature. It has elasticity. Then what about the structure? They have intercellular space, big vacuole and a prominent nucleus. They are either spherical, that is round, or oval. Spherical is this shape. Okay, oval is this shape, either spherical or oval, whereas in this case mostly they are oval in shape. And then they have this collenchyma have thickened ends made up of pectin, and also their cell wall is made up of cellulose. So that is all about the structure of parenchyma and collenchyma. We are yet to learn about one more tissue called as sclerenchyma, right? We didn't study. We will be learning about that and its types in the upcoming slides. Okay, so before that, before learning about sclerenchyma, there are also two types of parenchyma cells. Okay, this parenchyma, no, this is the general property. They are of two types. We learn about the two types of parenchyma and then we learn about the properties of sclerenchyma. Okay, so I told you, right, there are two types of parenchyma. We learn what are they. Okay, it is simple. There are two types of parenchyma. One is called chlorenchyma and the other one is called arenchyma. See, chloro itself represent the pigment chlorophyll. Okay, wherever you find the word chloro in plants, it means that it has the pigment chlorophyll. Then aero means air. Okay, so these are two specialities. Let's look into the picture. See, you can see the cell fully green in color, right? The other cells what we studied previously were not green, whereas in this case it is fully green because of a pigment called as chloroplast. It contains chloroplast and chloroplast will have a pigment called as chlorophyll. Chloroplast is a structure which will have chlorophyll. Okay, so what is the function? If wherever there is chlorophyll or chloroplast, the function is photosynthesis. So chlorenchyma cells have the property to undergo photosynthesis. And arenchyma, I told you, air means it has some air spaces. Okay, see, inside you have air space, which means there is nothing inside. It is filled with air alone. Okay, so arenchyma means you don't have either cytoplasm or vacuole or nucleus like other cells, but instead of that you will have air in between them, air spaces, a space which is occupied by air. That's why it's called aerenchyma. It contains air spaces. I told you, no, the property of aerenchyma is they have air spaces. These are all air spaces. Okay, so you have no chloroplast, no chlorophyll or nucleus or vacuole, nothing. Instead you will have air. So since you have air, say for example if you have a balloon, okay, and you blow the balloon with air and then put it into water, what it will do? It will float, right, because it is filled with air. So if you have air inside, and similarly in life saving jackets also, when you blow in air and then you wear, you can float because it is filled in air. So similarly here also these type of cells, when it is filled with air spaces or air, it can float in water. Okay, so these are all tissues in plants, right? So those plants which have these aerenchyma tissues have the ability to float in water. Have you seen lotus plant all? It will float in water. It will not, even if you push it into water, again it will bounce back and come up to the surface, right, because of the presence of aerenchyma tissues. Okay, so these are two types of parenchyma tissues. So what is yet to learn now in permanent tissues? There is only one type called as sclerenchyma. We are about to learn, right? So we learn about the last type of tissue called sclerenchyma tissues. So sclerenchyma tissues, again they are of two types. Before that we learn the general structure of sclerenchyma tissues before learning the types of sclerenchyma tissues. So again just picturize this in your mind. This is the sclerenchyma tissues, and can you see intercellular space in sclerenchyma tissue? I told you about intercellular space. Now what is intercellular space? If there is space between two cells, you call it as intercellular space. Whereas in this case you cannot see any intercellular space because it is all closely packed. See, they are all attached to each other without any space in between them. So it is lacking intercellular space. And one special property of these sclerenchyma cells is they are dead cells. They are not alive. They are dead cells is a special property. And then I told you, no intercellular space, and the cell wall is extremely thick when compared to all other cells or tissues of the plant. The cell wall is extremely thick in this type of sclerenchyma tissue because it is made up of a special substance called as lignin. So what is the cell wall made up of? It is made up of a substance called as lignin. Okay, then one more property, the function. So if this sclerenchyma is present, what is the use for the plant? What is the use? It gives mechanical strength. It supports, it makes the plant to be strong. Okay, so the function of this one is mechanical, is to provide mechanical strength if they are present. It will make the plant strong if this tissue is present. So I told you there are two types of sclerenchyma tissues. They are called as fibers and sclerides. So what are the two types of sclerenchyma tissues? Fibers and sclerides. So today, after finishing this class, after I teach you and after you finish all your classes, please go through the properties of what all these tissues. Try to learn immediately because it will be confusing, right? There are many types. So immediately when you learn, after you attend the class, it is going to help you a lot. So if you don't touch it and after many days when you take, it will all sound new to you, right? So try to learn today itself. Okay. So what did I tell you? Two types are fibers and sclerides. So let's see the picture and learn its properties. So this is the structure of fiber. What can you see? This type of cells, it is different, right? It appears like a stick or something. It doesn't appear like a tissue. What can you see here? It is very elongated, or it is long in nature. See the structure, it is elongated or very long. This is the first property. And the second property, they have pointed ends. See the ends, it is so pointed, right? It is not like the other. Usually cells are either round or in rectangular shape like this you will have, right? But in this case you see it is all pointed, so it is pointed ends. And see here, when you cut the cell, no, you can find this structure. When you just make cross section, if this pointed cell structure is like this, when you cut here, right, you will get this structure. Okay, so here you can see many holes in between, no, you can see holes in between, and these are called as pits. So what is a pit? If a cell has pores or holes in between, it is called pit. So what is the use of having a pit? If you have a pit, it can allow water to pass through the pit. So the advantage of having a pit is it lets water to pass through the pit, like water can flow through this area. Okay, so where can you find this type of tissues, that is a fiber tissue? It is present in three places. One is the mid rib of the leaf. What is mid rib? If you have a leaf, this is called the midrib. The thick vein in the center is called midrib. So you can find this type of tissue in the midrib of the leaf, and also in xylem and phloem, and also to the outer surface of cortex and pericycle of the stem. So in stem, in these two regions, you will learn in detail about the structure of the stem in your later classes, but just remember, in the cortex and pericycle of the stem you can find fiber. Such a structure you can find in the midrib of the leaf, in xylem and phloem, and also in the cortex and pericycle. So this is all about the structure of the fiber. So the last topic for today's class will be the explanation about scleroids. Okay, so before studying about the scleroids, let's look into the picture of the scleroids. So this is the scleroids. Okay, so this is the scleroids, and here you study now the property of sclerenchyma is to have extremely thick walls. That thick walls is especially present in the scleroids. See, it is so thick in nature, and so wherever there is very thick wall, generally a plant cell wall will have cellulose. Okay, but whenever there is a very thick wall, it means that it has a lignin. So this thick wall also has lignin in them. The property of scleroids is to have thick wall. Why thick wall? Because it has lignin. Okay, and also you can see pits. See, there are empty spaces. No, it looks like a web, right? You can see some empty spaces which is uncovered, and these are called as pits. I told you already while explaining about this structure, wherever you find pits, it means water can pass through the pits, or other substances food can pass through the pits. Food or water, any liquid portion can pass through the pits. So similarly here also you have pits, so it lets the materials to pass through. And where you can find these scleroids? It is found in the pulp of the fruit. Generally you remember, wherever you find some hard structure in a fruit, okay, what is all hard? Generally the seeds are hard, or the seed coat, the outer covering of the seed is very hard, no? So seed coats will have scleroids because it is very thick, I told, no? So its texture is not soft at all. Some fruits which are not soft, say for example there are some crunchy fruits, right, where you don't find the pulp to be very soft like a mango, or you cannot find it soft. There are some crunchy fruits, and those crunchy fruits will all have scleroids. Either the seed coat will be very hard, or else the pulp of the fruit. What is pulp? The inside fleshy portion is called pulp, no? That will be gritty and crunchy. That is, it is not of soft nature, it is so crunchy in nature to bite. So wherever you find crunchy fruits, it means it has a scleroids in them. Okay, so these are all about the types of permanent tissues we have studied in this class, and finally we will see about the homework. So when I give a homework, please all of you try to send me. Only few are sending the homeworks. Everyone try to send your homeworks. Okay. Okay, before that, the answers for previous class homework, previous botany class homework. This is a botany class, right? So I'll be giving the answers for botany class and botany class. Okay. So, in your previous botany class, I had given you some questions. The correct answer for them is these 5. Please note down in your book or wherever you have written, no, correct if you are wrong. Okay. Then we will see who has who sent me the first right answer for the previous class. Who is that? Yeah. So, that is Darren and Mohand. So, both of them had sent me the correct answer on the same time. Okay. So, both of them have won this. And then for today's homework, you have to complete page number 18, question number 2 to 5 in your biology textbook, page number 18, questions 2 to 5, and WhatsApp me to this number, and as usual, whoever sends me the first right answer, I will declare their names in the next botany class. Okay. So, that's all for the class today, and until I meet you in another class, you all take care and bye bye.